Chapter 40, Getting Organized at Last. Hein was already a brown belt in judo from South Africa when I met him. He was a very fierce warrior and a real expert in fixing anything physical. And me, the rookie, the old man adventurer from America, was an expert at fixing anything with my ideas. What a great combo we were. Hein introduced me to a businessman in Swakopmund who actually owned a non-working computer. And Hein mediated a meeting as an interpreter where I convinced the guy to loan it to me on weekends. In turn, we would get it booted in English, so he could also use it on weekdays. It sounded like a good trade, and trading and bartering were our way of life. There were already donated computers in the large government offices, and many were brought by corporations, but few colored or blacks knew the magic of using them. They were required to type in English. We had to change the culture by teaching English and to create newly skilled colored and black workers for the country of Namibia. I called Nick. He told me to meet a British computer expert, nerd type, he knew who was on holiday at Swakopmund. We met at the bistro for a cup of coffee. I knew the Brit was SAS. We just had to wink at each other. He stayed on in Namibia after retirement from active military service to the Queen and was also an expat computer expert. I convinced him to fix or reboot the computer in English, winking. He winked back and said loudly in English, "You get it to Windhoek and I will take care of it for you." We were afraid other people thought we were conspiring somehow. And English was really a problem. People didn't want us teaching English. Okay, so the plan, on 24 hours for the effort, I took all day and overnight one-way train trip through the Namib Desert to the capital the following week. Nick met me at the station. The ride on the train was 10 hours. It was very hot, very slow, very smelly, and very crowded. I loved it. I felt like a true African adventurer. So here's the way the conversation went. SAS. "So, Tommy, what name do you want to be called on your service provider?" "What?" "What name do you want to be called on your computer address to identify you?" How about CyberU or ScrewYou.com? Both of them laughing loudly. I will see it if it's available," he said. I had absolutely no idea what he was talking about. I didn't know anything about computers. I didn't know the front from the back. Nick, laughing all the while at my computer ignorance, said, "What's a CyberU, dude?" I explained I wanted to start a weekend cyber university in Swakopmund because there was no opportunity for advanced education in English for high school grads. Therefore, no incentive to even attempt to graduate. I lugged the computer all the way back to Swakopmund in my lap on the same train through the desert the very next day, but it was an overnight and it took longer and was much smellier. I was one happy dude. I had my perfect tool for introducing an American-type computer education to blacks on the west coast of Africa. Next stop, the governor's office. We had become close friends. He knew I was working for the Namibian people for no pay or with no official sponsor whatsoever, and yet was seriously connected and well known at the American Embassy. He was glad to have an unofficial personal friendship with me. I told him what I planned, that Voten, the well-known and respected white medical doctor, my senpai, Dr. Wonderful, would help and serve on the board. Would he, a well-known, respected black government leader, also serve? He shocked me with his immediate answer. Of course, if Voten does, I will too. And he volunteered to recruit some top black and white Rossing Uranium corporate folks as well. Wow, I was hot to trot. Now I needed real American college textbooks. My lifelong favorite friend, Will Redfern, who lives here in Wilmington, Delaware, still around. I just had lunch with him the other day. From our old 30-ish Young Republican days, was still practicing law in Wilmington. He collected all his out-of-date law books from his own law library and sent a ton of them to me. They're all, by the way, still available in the Swakopmund Library for all to use. Namibia is a Commonwealth country, and the common law is the same as in America for the most part. The next coup was my friend Dr. Charlie Johnson from Goldie Beacom College. He convinced a college fraternity to pay the postage and to send me all the used law books and textbooks from the college, used by freshmen and sophomores in the business curriculum. And he also recruited a young business student to come over to Namibia as a volunteer. And that's how Nick and I met Martin Mikas. We met him at the airport. He was nervous as hell. Martin was the first American, Martin saw his first African wildlife right from Nick's front room picture window. We few, we happy few, we band of warriors. For we are the warriors who started the world's first international cyber university. It was early 1995, and I was on a real roll. Note, I just met with Martin last year. He and his beautiful wife and their new baby are back in Africa for a long-term State Department Foreign Service tour. She's a specialist in AIDS work, and he's an exceptional teacher. I started recruiting teachers from America and Dubai. I literally dragged Namibian students off the streets to attend college 8 hours on a Saturday, 5 hours on a Sunday, every weekend. Wotan set up the deal with a local movie house that we could use on Sunday mornings to show a film and I could give a lecture. It took over a year to recruit, train, and organize the teachers and recruit the first class. Some of the students are on this list now and reading this accounting I just gave you. They're oohing and ahhing and should be, for they all now have jobs and they all now are using computers. One of them, a man named Juso, just sent me an article about himself being recently appointed as the deputy mayor of Swakopmund. And all of that is the reason why we had one lousy computer in one small room in one small town in a country that never heard of a computer before. Meanwhile, back at Jenny's house, oh well, what the hell. It's too good a story not to tell. Why not? But first, I need to introduce you to my young friend Andrew. Remember him, the young South African expat I met at Adibo up in the bush? And you need to meet my new first walk-up social friend, Peter, a German expat poet and painter who was Jenny's current live-in boyfriend. Wait till you hear that chapter.